Hello, I'm Barbara Constantine. The National Film Board of Canada has produced a series of 3 films for children 9 to 12 years old on growing up. The series is designed to help children develop the survival skills they'll need to cope with puberty and adolescence. Before the first film begins, I'd like to introduce our program to parents.
You know you've got your head full of questions.
We know that's all right.
You know a question flips a switch.
It turns on a light. There's mysteries on every playground, riddles in the trees, marvels on every sidewalk, puzzles in you and me,
Walking every street. You've got your head full of questions.
We know that's all right.
Head full of questions. A wonderful description of a child's curiosity. I'm in an animation studio, surrounded by drawings from the Growing Up series. Music, documentary, and dramatic sequences have been combined with animation to create 3 films that answer questions children from 9 to 12 ask about everything. From, what does making love mean? To, how can I say no if I'm being pressured to do something I really don't want to do? This is an important time for children. They're entering into an exploding age, and they need to fuel up in preparation for the changing years ahead. These drawings are of Fred and Anna. Central to the first film, Head Full of Questions, is the warm, caring, and responsible relationship of these 2 animated characters. This film focuses on reproduction, from sexual intercourse to conception, the development, and then the birth of a baby. This first film also includes a short sequence on AIDS. The fear of AIDS has made this an issue we feel must be included in every family life program. The second film is called Changes. It examines the physical changes children undergo during puberty and some of the emotions surrounding these changes. After viewing this film, we hope children realize that whatever their own rhythm of development is, or will be, they're all right. And the final film, Especially You, encourages children to respect others and to be themselves, to follow their hearts, even under pressure. And that's really the goal of the entire program. We want to help kids develop the self-esteem and confidence they'll need when faced with increasingly complex choices of all kinds. A word about using the Growing Up series. We recommend you preview the entire series before you show it to your children, so that you can tailor our program to suit your own needs. You may decide not to show all 3 films, or you may decide to reverse their order. We suggest you show each film at a different time, say on 3 consecutive evenings, leaving you in between time for discussion. I should add that when children view the series, they may be fascinated with some sections and not quite as interested in others. At this age, children absorb the information they need and ignore what they're not ready for. 6 months from now, they may respond to different parts of the program. A booklet should have accompanied this videotape, and it provides more background information on the series, as well as suggestions for discussion before and after viewings. And finally, at the end of the 3rd film, a group of parents and educators discuss how the films can be used most effectively. This section of the program is designed for parents. Let's begin the films. After the title, I'll introduce the first film to you and your children. Hi, I'm Barbara. I'd like to tell you a little bit about how we made the Growing Up series. We started off by visiting, about 10 different schools. And we talked to kids in grades 4, 5, and 6 and asked them to write down what they wanted to know most about growing up. About their bodies, how a baby is born, even how they felt about their friends. Well, they came up with dozens of questions, and out of all those questions, we developed this series of 3 films. Barbara and Blue, who you're about to meet, came to this school, McCorkindale Elementary in Vancouver, British Columbia, and worked with a class of kids who did their very best to keep us on track. This first film is all about how you became you.
You know you've got your head full of questions.
We know that's alright.
You know what question flips a switch?
It turns on the light. There's mysteries on every playground, riddles in the trees, marvels on every sidewalk, puzzles in you and me.
Walking every street.
Why do men and women make love? How does the baby come out?
How does the baby get inside the mother?
Why don't babies have teeth when they're born?
What are condoms?
Why isn't there just one sex?
Every question has a reason to come into your head.
Why do only women have a period?
How does sperm move around?
Why does the man have to stick his penis into the lady to have a baby?
So ask it right out loud and listen to what is said.
These are great questions. You know, they deal with a lot of things. Our bodies, making babies. I think the best place to start is with relationships. Two people loving and caring for each other. Blue, what are you doing?
I'm drawing a picture of Fred and Anna. This is Fred.
And this is Anna.
Fred and Anna met when they were in college.
Hi there. I'm Fred.
That's, nice.
Snob.
They immediately develop a mutual distaste for each other.
Egomaniac.
Ego what?
Then one day in the middle of biology class, for no scientifically explainable reason,
Fred and Anna decided they liked each other after all. Since then, they've done many weird and wonderful things together.
Thank you.
Fred and Anna wanted to be together as much as possible.
I like to talk about what makes a good, loving relationship between two people. Now, what does it mean when we say that two people love each other? Jacob?
I don't know. It's probably different from the feelings you get when you love your dog or stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Angela, you had your hand up there. Let's go for it.
They care about each other?
Very much, or just a little? Or what?
Very much.
Yeah. It's hard to put the feeling of love into words, isn't it? But you see, when you love someone, you want to make your life part of theirs.
Fred and Anna were good to each other. They built a life together. They liked to help each other. Sometimes, Fred and Anna wanted to be as close as possible.
When two people who care about each other touch and kiss, it feels very good. And sometimes they may want to make love. Do you know what that means? Eddie?
They might want to have a baby sometimes.
That's very good. That's true. Anyone else? Louis?
For some people, they just do it for fun. Like,
Yeah. You're both talking about why people make love. But now, let's talk about how people make love. Now, when a man and woman touch each other and kiss, sometimes this good feeling can cause the man's penis to get bigger and harder. And that's called an erection.
For the woman, that good feeling can cause the inside of her vagina to get wet from a fluid that the vagina makes. So that when the man or woman are both ready, and they both want to, the man can put his penis into the woman's vagina. That's called sexual intercourse, but often people call it making love.
Now, we know it may seem strange to you. It feels very good for the man and the woman. It's their way of saying how much they care about each other.
And eventually, as they continue to make love, the woman and the man might both have an orgasm. And this nice, warm feeling spreads all over the body.
Now, both the man and the woman can have this warm feeling. And when the man has an orgasm, semen comes out of his penis. Now, semen is a thick fluid with sperm in it. And sperm are the tiny sex cells made in the man's testicles. They're so small you need a microscope to see them.
And during sexual intercourse, the semen can come out of the man's penis into the woman's vagina. Now, that's the first step towards making a baby.
Okay, Randy, you have a question. What would you like to say?
About how much sperm does each testicle produce a day?
Testicles are always producing sperm, so that if a man ejaculates, more sperm are produced. So there are always millions and millions of sperm. Yeah, Louis.
If two men, like, made love for two women, would it be bad, normal, or what? Like,
Two men or two women can have loving relationships. They like the closeness of being together. They have a need for each other, and they can give each other love.
Angela, you have another question?
Is, cum semen?
Yes, cum is a street word, a slang word for semen. That's what it means. But it's not a medically correct term. Shabil, you got something you want to say?
If a lady was about to have a baby, right, and a man puts more sperm inside the vagina, what would happen to, like, what would happen?
Nothing would happen. They would be making love for the pure enjoyment of it, so she wouldn't get pregnant with another child.
Be here, you know. You're embarrassed to talk about it?
Yes.
That's because you don't hear it.
So, Lou, what do you think of sex?
I think it's basically good, because if we didn't have sex, we wouldn't be here.
You gonna do it?
Probably.
Yeah. You know, I think sex is really gross to talk about.
Why? Well,
You won't when you're older.
that's for sure. What do you think, Jamil?
Well, I don't know. I think sex is gross, but still you have to live with it because everybody's...
I don't know. I can Blue and Barb. I learned a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they didn't use
It's embarrassing to talk about erections, stuff like that.
Every question has a reason to come into your head.
Some of you have been asking Barbara and I questions about AIDS. So why don't some of you give us some questions now, and we'll try to answer them.
How do you get AIDS?
Does AIDS stand for something? How did AIDS come? Like, get into people? Can you die from AIDS?
If AIDS get into the sperm and still alive and gets into the egg when the baby is born, will the baby have a problem?
You can get AIDS different ways. AIDS is a virus that lives in the blood, and people die from it. Pregnant women that have the virus can pass it on to the baby, and drug abusers can get it by using needles that other infected people have used. But usually, people get AIDS by having sexual intercourse with someone who already has the virus, because it can live in the man's semen or in the fluid in the woman's vagina. Now, there are different ways to protect yourself, and one way is to not have sexual intercourse at all. Another way is to use a condom. Now, do you know what that is? Yes, a condom is a rubber covering that goes over the man's penis during sexual intercourse, and it can usually prevent the man and the woman from becoming infected. Now, listen to me. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot get AIDS by being in the same room with someone who has the disease, or by touching that person, or by swimming in the same pool, or by breathing the same air. You cannot get AIDS from a mosquito. All that is total nonsense. Okay, so we were talking about making love and making babies. So let's get back to that. What happens to the sperm once it's inside the woman? Danielle?
It fertilizes the egg?
Not bad at all.
It takes the egg from a woman and the sperm from a man to make a baby. During sexual intercourse, the man's penis goes into the woman's vagina. When the man has an orgasm, semen, which contains millions of sperm cells, are released. The sperm need the warmth of the woman's body to stay alive.
After sexual intercourse, the sperm swim up the woman's uterus and into the fallopian tubes. The fallopian tubes are the pathways that lead to the ovaries.
In each ovary, there are hundreds of thousands of tiny egg-like cells called ova. About once a month, a single ovum or egg leaves the ovary. This is called ovulation.
If the ovum and the sperm meet, then sometimes a single sperm will join together with the ovum. This is called fertilization.
The fertilized egg heads for the uterus. The uterus is the place where a baby grows.
What can a man and woman do if they don't want to have a baby? Jacob?
They could use birth control.
Very good. If a man and woman don't want to have a baby, then they have to use birth control every time they make love. It's their responsibility, because if they don't, chances are the woman will get pregnant. And even if she's very young, a girl can still get pregnant.
There are different kinds of birth control devices, and the purpose of them is to stop the ovum and the sperm from meeting. For several years, Fred and Anna had used birth control, but when they made the decision to have a baby, they stopped.
Fred,
Yes?
I'm pregnant.
Anna?
Uh-huh. Fred?
When a fertilized egg starts to grow, it's called an embryo. It's no bigger than a tiny dot. Andrew, you got something to say?
When the baby is just little bit, forming, does it have a small tail?
Not really. What you're seeing is the spinal column beginning to form. But it looks a lot like a small tail, doesn't it?
A baby gets all of its food and oxygen from its mother through her blood.
Do you know how the baby gets that food and oxygen? Eddie, how does it?
Yeah, that tube that goes through. Annulum or something like that.
What was that, Louis?
Close. The tube that goes to your belly button, attached to your belly button.
Does anybody know what that's called?
Jacob, what do you think it's called?
The umbilical cord?
After the embryo has been growing for about 10 weeks, it's then called a fetus. It just spends its time floating in a warm liquid inside a kind of bag called the amniotic sac. And for 9 months, the baby grows.
So cute. Oh, look at those. Look at that. Thank
Katie? Baby. It's in there somewhere, isn't it? It's right over top of where the baby is.
The mother's body seems to know when it's time for the baby to come. The uterus, which is one of the strongest muscles in the body, tightens and relaxes over and slowly pushes the baby down into the vagina, which is also sometimes called the birth canal.
Some of you must have younger brothers and sisters. Do you?
Yes.
No?
Did your mom tell you what it was like when she went into labor? Do you remember what it was like?
No, kind of.
Or maybe she's told you what it was like when she had you?
Yes.
Yeah? Well, it's very hard work having a baby. The muscle contractions in the uterus can be very powerful. They have to be to get the baby out. And sometimes it can take hours and hours. But once it's over, it sure seems worth it.
I remember going into my mother's room and seeing my little sister all wrapped up in a little towel. She was just so tiny and red that I didn't believe it. Her skin was just so soft.
Well, I was sleeping when my brother was born.
No.
My figures. Figures didn't even get to see him.
How'd your brother?
My brother? Well, I was in labor. And then, I mean, not me, but my mom was in labor, and then I was watching. My mom was quite sweaty, and then, and I was just watching, and then she was finished with it, and then I just went to go and see my brother, and then he was so small. Yeah, he was so cute, and then small hands and everything. And
how old were you?
I mean, I was 5 years old.
But I can remember my dad came running in. He had his blue suit on and with one of those face things on.
Yeah.
And he's crying his eyes out. And then my sister just came, like, they pulled her out, and she was about that small, and they had to put her in an incubator.
You know you've got your head full of questions.
We know that's alright. You know one question flips a switch, it turns on a light. There's mysteries on every playground, riddles in the trees, marvels on every sidewalk, puzzles in you and me.
Walking every street.
You know there's always things to learn. We know that's not strange. You know just when you got it down, it will rearrange. There's mystery written on your face, riddles on the breeze, marbles shining in your hands, puzzles in all your dreams.
In all your dreams.
The first film was about loving, caring, adult relationships. It was about sexual intercourse and how you grew from a tiny dot. Well, the second film is about you right now, right through your teenage years. It's called Changes.
I dreaded growing up. It was just like, I want to stay a little girl forever and ever.
I was fat and I was the smallest kid in class. Never could be the biggest kid. I was always the smallest kid.
I was the turtle of the flock. I was always the late developer. Everybody else was getting breasts and they had their period and they were going out with boys and stuff, and I was all by myself.
I had a huge overbite. I had glasses and braces. That's like, this is me in grade 7. It was horrible.
Once I started to grow up, I was kind of glad that I had and that I was going to, because it's something different and you look at life differently, and it's kind of exciting.
Changes keep falling like sunshine, like rain. I know I'll never be the same. Everyone tells me I'm gonna change.
They say, don't worry when I feel strange.
I'm kind of excited,
Sort of perplexed.
I can't wait to see what happens next. Changes keep falling like the sunshine, like the rain. I know I'll never be the same.
Puberty. That's the time when we grow, we mature. It happens to all of us. If you could describe in one word what puberty meant to you, what would that word be? Yeah, Eddie?
Changes?
Yeah, and those changes made me excited. Well, most of the time. What about you, Blue?
Well, I felt a lot of different things. I guess I was pretty excited about growing up. I was really excited about going to all those parties. I was looking forward to that. But I was a little nervous, too, because all the older kids kept telling me how hard school was on them. How'd you feel about it, Barbara?
Yeah, I had mixed emotions. I guess everybody does. But then, I also remember noticing the first changes in my body and thinking, hey, all the right things are starting to happen. I'm gonna be a woman. What about you guys? What are some of the things that you're looking forward to about growing up? Yeah, Louis.
Your voice could change and go deeper. It would be neat.
Great. Mickey, what's something you're looking forward to?
Menstruation?
Menstruation. Yeah.
Angela.
Parties.
Looking forward to the party. Leslie.
Staying out late. Getting my own sports car.
What kind of sports car you gonna get?
I want a Porsche or a Corvette.
It's got taste.
Is that okay for you, Lou?
No, Volkswagen.
Okay, those are some of the things you're looking forward to. Now, what are some of the things you're not looking forward to? I mean, what kinds of things worry you?
Nelson.
Being short.
Right.
Going out with boys.
Anyone in particular there, Jimmy?
No.
Andrew.
Getting fat.
Mickey, what are you worried about growing up?
Being bossed by my parents.
Oh,
What about you, Josh?
High school homework.
I know. Well, most of you have mixed feelings about it all. Part of growing up is all the changes that start happening in your body. Like Barbara said, that can be very exciting. It can make you feel very powerful, like you're ready to take the world by storm. But then there's the other possibility, that you might not like all the changes that are happening to your body. You may start to wonder if you're normal. So let's talk about the changes that happen in puberty. We have to start on the inside.
Hey, what's going on? That's my head.
It all starts here, in a part of the brain called the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus starts releasing chemicals called hormones, and they travel through the blood to the pituitary gland. They deliver a message that it's time for puberty.
The
pituitary gland takes the hint and starts manufacturing its own hormones. Once these hormones reach a girl's ovaries, it's the signal for the tiny ova, the egg cells, to start developing.
And in a boy, it's the signal for the testicles to begin producing sperm. You need sperm and ova to make a baby. So puberty is the body's way of preparing to be a mother or a father.
The male sex hormone is testosterone. The female sex hormone is estrogen. These hormones cause some of the obvious changes in your body, like hair under your arms and pubic hair around your sexual organs.
You can suddenly get taller. A boy's voice might get deeper. A boy will probably first notice that his penis and testicles are getting bigger.
Could you mention something about size?
Penises are like noses. They come in all shapes and sizes, circumcised or not. And just like noses, the size and shape doesn't matter at all. They're all normal.
And the same is true for girls' breasts. Any size and shape is normal. A girl's hips widen, and her menstrual cycle begins.
A boy's chest and shoulders get broader, and eventually he has to start shaving.
Your face might get oily, and that could cause pimples.
You might have to take more showers, because these hormones can even change the way you smell.
Something else that's part of growing up is masturbation. That's the touching and exciting of your own sexual organs. Not everyone masturbates. If you do, that's okay. If you don't, that's okay too.
Puberty is the time when your feelings change. And you might develop enormous crushes. Sometimes sexual, sometimes not. Perhaps on rock stars, maybe on your teacher or your best friend. It's lucky all the changes don't happen at once. Puberty takes years, and it starts at different times for different people.
For girls, it can start as early as 8 or as late as 18.
And for boys, it's anywhere between 10 and 18.
There's a stranger, and she's walking inside my clothes. Wherever I'm going, nobody knows.
Walking into walls with my 2 left feet. Looking in the mirror makes my knees go weak. Changes keep falling like the sunshine, like the rain. I know I'll never be the same.
I couldn't wait. I just thought I was abnormal because I was late. I just wanted my period so bad, and I'd pray, please make it tomorrow, you know. Well, when I was 10, I was starting to develop breasts, and my hips were getting bigger, and it was like, you know, all the other girls around me were still, you know, just like little girls, and I felt very abnormal.
I got my period when I was 12, and I was shocked because I thought, oh, no, it's not going to happen to me, it's not going to happen to me, and everybody else was getting it, and I hadn't got it, and I thought, oh, good, maybe it's just going to pass. But, and then one day I got it, and I just went, Mom! But I wasn't, like, I was scared at the beginning, but it was fine.
Menstruation is the scientific name for a girl's period. And the first one usually happens about a year after the breasts begin to develop. And the first sign of menstruation is a small amount of blood or tissue that comes out of the vagina. You might find that scary or embarrassing at first, but it's also exciting. You're growing up.
Here's what happens inside a girl's body. When she is anywhere from 8 to 18 years old, there's no best time. Her menstrual cycle begins. Every month, a tiny ovum, or egg, leaves an ovary and enters a fallopian tube, which is a passageway leading to her uterus. At the same time, the soft lining of the uterus is getting thicker and ready for the egg. The uterus is where a baby grows. If she's not having a baby, the egg and the lining, which is made up of blood and tiny pieces of tissue, aren't needed, so they leave the body through the vagina. This is called menstruation, and it happens about once a month. It lasts from 2 to 8 days. Each girl is different.
You may find when you first start having your period that it takes a little while for your body to get used to it. And that means you may miss a period for a month or two, maybe even 6 months. Or sometimes you'll have a heavy flow, sometimes you won't. But eventually your body will find its own rhythm. Everyone is different. Janine, Janine, right in the back row there, do you have a question?
What protects the period?
All you have to do is wear a pad or perhaps a tampon if you're going swimming. And they absorb the menstrual flow. Pads fit really closely to your body and they don't show. And tampons fit right inside the vagina. Your mother or your school nurse can help you choose the best kind for you and show you how to use it. Mickey, you've got a question.
Like, does it feel like when you're going to the washroom, or does it just come out like you don't know when it does?
Well, you can't usually feel the blood coming out because it's such a small amount. And it doesn't mean you can't do all of the things you usually do, as long as you feel like it. Yeah, Louis, what were you wondering?
How does it feel when you're going through the stages? Like,
when you're menstruating?
Yeah.
Well, many girls feel nothing at all. There's no discomfort. Sometimes some people, myself included, get cramps. Now, if any of you feel that way, you might find that a hot water bottle on your stomach helps. You just have to be careful it's not too hot. Or a walk, or some kind of exercise can help you relax.
If it's your first time and you have it at school, it would be kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, I remember being worried about that. It seemed to me it would be such an embarrassing thing to happen. But you know, it really isn't.
You could tell the teacher.
Tell the teacher?
Yeah. Or the janitor.
You know, actually, Louise brought up a really good point, because, you know, we all think, oh, Lord, how could I speak to somebody like that? All you have to do is tell your teacher, your school nurse, your counselor, and they'd be happy to help you, and they won't think anything about it. After all, half the people in the world menstruate.
Well, I thought that I was the only girl in the whole entire world that had my period, and I didn't quite think that anyone else would be going through it. And then a while goes by and you realize so-and-so has theirs and someone else has theirs. Oh, it's not so bad, and you realize that everyone else has got it and that it's just a part of life.
When we look back, what will we see? Could that be you? And was that me? Changes keep falling like sunshine, like rain.
Evan, I was swimming with a bunch of my friends at a pool, and I got an erection in the pool, and everybody was like, oh, look what he's got, huh? They're making fun of it. And that was, it was embarrassing.
You'd be dancing with a girl and you get an erection, and you just, it's so embarrassing, you know. And start dancing a little farther apart.
Changes keep falling like the sunshine, like the rain.
When boys get to puberty, the hormones are working a lot harder. Boys can often get erections. That's when the penis gets harder and bigger. Now, it can happen because of an exciting thought, maybe a sexual thought, or sometimes it just happens. And it's very normal. Also, during puberty, boys can get what are called wet dreams. You see, the testicles are always making sperm, and in a wet dream, semen with sperm in it comes out of the penis while you're sleeping. And when you wake up, there's a wet spot, then you wonder what just happened to you. But I'm saying that that's a very natural process for boys. Everyone in the world goes through that. It's healthy. It's just the body's way of making room for new sperm cells.
I was really young when I had my first wet dream, and it was embarrassing. Like, I didn't want to tell my mom. That was like taboo, no, because like, mom wouldn't understand, right? So then, like, I didn't tell no friends because I didn't want to get laughed at. Like, people would think that you're weird or something, right? Like, when you're young like that. So that was out. So then I just told my dad, and my dad was like, chuckle, laugh, and he just, don't worry about it. He said, it's just a fact of life. So from that time on, that's what I thought about it, so.
Changes keep falling like the sunshine, like rain. I know I'll never be the same.
Some of you will grow faster than others, and some of you will just take your time. Now, if you're behind everyone, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. Just tell yourself this. You're a gourmet dinner, slowly simmering to perfection.
Well, I was one of the first girls in my class to grow breasts, and that was in grade 4. So I took a lot of teasing about that. But you know, I was glad that I was growing up.
Instead of a nose, they gave me a beak. Got a different voice every time I speak. Am I doing all right? Is anything wrong?
I'm going so fast, but it's taking so long.
Changes keep falling like sunshine, like rain. I know I'll never be the same. I'm getting all lumpy, and I know that it shows.
Sometimes I blush right down to my toes.
I'm growing up, that's just how it goes.
Today I'm the bud, soon
The rose. Changes keep falling like sunshine, like rain. I know I'll never be the same.
So remember, during puberty, new hormones start kicking into action. They cause changes in your body, and they can also change the way you feel about things. There may be days you just don't like who you see in the mirror. You may feel clumsy or awkward. On those days, remember, it's normal to feel this way. And remember, you're not the only one going through puberty. Now let's watch the third film. It's all about you being you.
Poop, Jesse. Yeah, that one. The really tall one. Yeah, we'll get to the book now. Okay.
How are you feeling there inside? In the dark where you can't hide. You're the one that has to decide. How are you feeling there inside? Everyone walks in a different shoe. No one else knows what you should do.
Blue, what do you like about yourself?
Well, I can sing, I think I have a pretty good sense of humor. I like to make people laugh. What about you, Barbara?
I'm a good swimmer, and I think I'm a good listener, too. My friends seem comfortable talking to me and telling me their problems. Let's ask them.
Yeah. What do you think makes you special?
What do you like about yourselves? Yeah, Josh?
My sense of humor.
Danielle?
I like to just get up and do. Like, I'm glad I can just get up and try to do something.
All right. You got confidence.
Andrew?
Well, I like my imagination, and I can think of something and I can draw it or make it.
It was a great story you did the other day.
And I like playing hockey, I can play guitar, and I'm not as tall and the same as everybody else.
And you like that?
Yeah.
Like being different? Great.
Mickey, what makes you special?
I'm good at kendo and my schoolwork.
Kendo.
Wow.
Ian.
I like my good looks.
That was nice. Okay.
I'm a good harp player.
How long have you been playing harp?
2 years.
Are you going to keep it up?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's great. We all have something we like about ourselves. So what's the problem? Let's go home.
Blue.
Okay. You're right. Yeah, things aren't always perfect. Sometimes we might not feel that totally fantastically great about ourselves. For instance, when we have to make a choice between two things, and we know that whatever we choose, we're just not going to feel that great about it. Like when you're hanging around with a bunch of kids after school, and you know you really should call home and let everybody know where you are. But you also know that your friends are going to laugh at you when they see you calling. You know, saying things like, what are you, a baby? Can't do anything on your own? You know, things like that. So you have to decide. You have to decide.
La 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 la. Come on. You don't have to practice.
But I like it.
Don't be such a jerk. Let's go.
Hey, Jill, look at these hats. I've always wanted one of these.
Yeah, me too.
Hey, Jill. Come on.
Come on. Everybody else does it.
Yeah, I know. I've, never done it.
Well, neither have I. I mean, that's why I want to. Okay. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Now, what do you do in a situation when your friends are pressuring you to do something you know is wrong for you? Have you ever felt that? Yeah, Janine.
Like, okay, I was at my cousin's and we were staying there for dinner, and one of his friends, like, went with us because we were going to go to the store to get some chips or whatever. And I didn't notice until about a block after, and he had stolen a chocolate bar, and I say, put that back. And he goes, no, don't be a wimp, come on.
Okay, today we're going to be working on part 16. Two of the things that I want to talk about is noun. Noun means a person.
What are you gonna write?
me and my friends, like, there's these old houses that at the end of Park Place, so we went down and they're saying, go break all the windows in the house. And so I just looked and sat down, and they said, I won't play with you or anything like that anymore.
Okay, you guys have a lesson
Hey, I'll give you a puff if you don't tell Mom.
Yeah. Your turn.
After school, my friends all want me to come out and play a game like baseball, and I said for a minute, okay, so I just played for a little while, but then I said I needed to phone my mom because it was getting too late, and they were going, no, you don't need to, she's not going to care, you're just going to play with us and everything. And then I had to phone my mom because I knew she would be worried, so I did, and everyone got really mad at me, so they wouldn't let me play no more.
Now, how did that make you feel?
Bad.
Yeah. What you're feeling are pressures that people are putting on you. And decisions like that can get complicated. You may feel you'll lose your friends if you don't do what they want you to do. Here's a story about that.
Okay, Georgie. See you about 3:30. Yeah, okay. See you then.
Hi, Blue.
Oh, hi, Bob.
What's that?
Math. It's wrong. I can't do it. I quit.
You just divide this into this, and that gives the answer to this part, and you multiply that times the answer in part A.
Boy, you ever smart.
Isn't that Georgie a weirdo? Yeah, nobody likes him. He's got icky hair. You know how it stands up at the back? Shoes. Have you seen his shoes? They are so dumb.
Yeah.
Hey, do you like him?
Not really.
Why do you talk to him then?
Well, I don't.
I saw you talking to him just now.
Oh, well, just now he asked me a question.
Oh, sure.
No, really, I don't like him. He's got a warped personality.
Freeze. In the story, my character is pressuring Blue to say he didn't like his friend Georgie. And finally, he said that he didn't. Do you think that he meant that? No? Why do you think he said that? Yeah, Angela?
He thought you wouldn't be his friend if he liked Georgie.
Why do you think I might have put that pressure on Blue? Yeah, Jacob.
Maybe because you were feeling jealous and you didn't want Blue to like Georgie because you wanted him to like you more.
Sylvia, how do you think Blue is feeling right now?
Sad.
Sad. Yeah, he looks kind of sad. Charity.
Sort of, he doesn't know what to do because you don't like Georgie, and he does, so he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, he's confused. Yeah, Danielle?
He likes the stuff that Georgie does and you don't, and so he's feeling pretty down.
Yeah. Yeah, let's carry the story a little further and see what happens. Didn't I hear Georgie ask you to come over to his house after school today?
Yeah, he asked me.
You gonna go?
Probably not. I have too much homework.
I heard you say you were gonna go.
Yeah, well, I just said that to shut him up.
I know why you want to go to Georgie's house. You got a crush on his sister.
I do not.
Yeah, you do.
I do not. She likes Eric Dryhausen anyway.
Blue and Janet sitting in a tree. K-I-S.
I do not. Why do you keep teasing me?
All right, I'll tell you why. Are you my friend or are you Georgie's friend?
Well, I'm your friend, but
But what? But what, Blue?
Well, can't I be your friend and Georgie's friend, too?
No, you cannot.
Why?
Because, that's why.
That's no reason.
Freeze. What should Blue do now? Jacob.
You could just say, well, if that's your attitude, then I don't want to be your friend anymore.
Great, great. Randy, what do you think Blue could do now?
Maybe he can try make you and Georgie friends, so you can all be friends.
That's an interesting suggestion, yeah. How do you think Blue could do that?
Maybe get you to try and talk to each other.
That's great. Do you think that I know Georgie that well? No. Danielle?
Kind of get you together, and him, like, for just a sleepover or something, and then you guys would be able to get used to each other.
Yeah.
And maybe you can find out stuff you never knew before.
I think it's really important that Blue tries talking to me and telling me how he feels. I mean, who knows? I might listen, or I might get mad and leave, and Blue might lose a friend. And a friend that's really important to him. And there's no two ways about that. That can really hurt. But I think it's worth a try.
Barbara,
What?
I want to say something.
What?
Look, I'm angry and I'm frustrated. Barbara, you can't tell me who to like. Well, can't you imagine how I feel? I feel like a rope in a tug of war. I'm being pulled in two different directions. Can't you understand? Barbara, I'm sad because you're my friend too and I want you to like me.
It brings tears to my eyes.
What does? Standing on your head?
No.
All that stuff you're telling me. You're angry, you're sad. You feel like a rope being pulled in two directions? All I said was Georgie's kind of weird. That's all I said. Look, I'm still gonna be your friend. No! You don't have to take it so seriously. Come on! I just thought you liked Georgie better than me. Do you?
I like you both.
I want you to like me better. You know that basketball I thought I lost? I found it. You want to play?
Yeah, okay.
What about Georgie?
What about him?
Maybe he wants to play too.
Can I ask him?
Yeah.
Hey, Georgie!
How are you feeling there inside? In the dark where you can't hide. You're the one that has to decide. How are you feeling there inside? You gotta know what's right for you. You gotta let others know it too. Everyone walks in a different shoe. No one else knows what you should do. We're all together on this ride, go our own ways to the other side, floating along through time and space. There are no winners, this isn't a race. How are you feeling there inside? In the dark where you can't hide. You're the one that has to decide. How are you feeling there inside?
That's our program. We hope you enjoyed it. The kids in the films asked lots of questions, and you must have some of your own. You could look up the answers in a book, or ask a parent, your teacher, the school nurse, or a counselor. You might feel a little shy about asking particular questions, but you know, most adults want you to ask. And parents, the following discussion is for you. A group of health educators and parents are discussing how they would use the films of the Growing Up series.
One of the things that we hope is that the films will facilitate home discussion, you know, and it will provide, you know, an opportunity for the child to feel comfortable asking questions and for the parent to begin answering them. I'm wondering if you see the films as helping in that process.
Well, I know that when I speak to my boys, it's now giggle, 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 chuckle, you know, about sex. And Breen asked me, well, what are the birds and the bees, Mommy? Because he'd heard that from his friends. And I think that if you view these with your children, the vocabulary is there, the terminology is wonderful, there's no slang used, it's up front, and I think that it just opens the way for discussion with your children using the words from the film.
I really do think that the films help tremendously. I find I'm more embarrassed to talk about these things than my daughter is. She's very straightforward, and I find I'm the embarrassed person there, you know.
What I really like in these films is the fact that it doesn't just deal with anatomy, you know, or sex education. These are films on sexuality, and sexuality deals with appreciating one's body, the opposite sex's body, feeling good about, you know, oneself. And it touches on a lot of different issues that's part of growing up. And it's not just films on sex education.
Not just the sperm and the egg. There's so much, all the other things that are part of that are included.
And the third in the series, the decision-making, is so much a part of that as well. Making responsible decisions when children are old enough to think about their own sexuality and the sexual activity that they want to get involved in. So that third film is really critical as well.
I think the most important thing is that once the movies are viewed together with your children, you will start a process whereby children will start asking you questions.
I'm wondering what you think about when we should begin showing these films to our children.
I think by the time they're in grade 4, grade 5, they've been exposed to a lot of information, whether it's from on the school grounds, whether it's from television, movies, and they have a lot of questions, which they may have some answers to, others they don't. And I feel very strongly that that is a time when they are very ready for these films.
You find, too, with prepubescent children that they're much more willing to ask those questions than when kids begin to go through puberty, because it's before the changes occur, and there's a different comfort level because they're not there yet, and it's okay.
Grade 7 classes do not operate in the same fashion. Let me tell you, it's the question box all the way. The kids don't ask questions. They're too embarrassed. They're supposed to know it by the time they get to grade 7. I wouldn't want the films to be used as the only time that parents and children talked about this area. I would see it more in a part of the continuum, that you would start talking to your children at a very early age, and when you felt as a parent comfortable with the material, you would introduce the films. It would then facilitate further discussion, further expansion of their vocabularies. But I wouldn't think it would be just the only thing that would happen.
So what do you think some tips could be to help other parents who are using these films?
Probably the biggest trap that we would fall into as parents or anyone else showing the films is after the film is over, we'd say, well, do you have any questions? and you know as well as I that the child probably wouldn't have any questions. So probably at the end of the films, it would be a good idea to lead some kind of a discussion, maybe relating something that happened to you when you were going through adolescence or puberty. I remember I had feelings about such and such, some kind of a lead-in, rather than asking a child, well, what are your questions? Because that could have a very short discussion.
I think for the mothers, it would be very easy to bring up stories about, you know, the first time that I menstruated, you know, what that was like and how my mother dealt with it, and, you know, and for the fathers to talk about, you know, the possibility of dealing with wet dreams and telling their parents, and if they were ever able to tell their parents. I think children are always interested in parents' experiences.
Portrays them as real human beings.
Yeah. Yes. Do you think you feel comfortable talking about some of those experiences, you know, that you had growing up?
I think after seeing these movies, I feel now much more at ease.
Yeah.
I felt a little dicey at first, but now seeing the shows, I really do. And I guess talking it out here, too, has made me feel a lot more at ease.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
I think I would feel at ease, and I think, you know, I'd probably bring up some points from the film that I didn't know when I was young, and I hadn't even heard that word. And the way those young people came forth with the some of the expressions and things, I'd probably pick on one of those expressions and say, well, you know, I had never heard of ejaculation. I don't think until my university years, that term. And here, you know, so I would probably take something like that, like, I didn't know that, no, you know, and speak with them about, ask them if they've known that term before.
Another tip, perhaps, Leslie, would be to practice. We quite often don't use words like penis and vagina in normal conversation. And if a parent is feeling uncomfortable about using those words with their children, practice them in front of a mirror, out loud. Say them out loud before you go to your children.
There may be times when the kids will see the films and they'll come up with questions that may make you feel uncomfortable, or you don't feel very knowledgeable or comfortable answering if it's a sensitive area with yourself. And I think it's important to let the kids know that you may not have the information at that point in time, but you know, you'll look into it, or we'll, you know, maybe you and the kids can go to the library and check it out together. Or just be very frank with them and say, it's hard for you to talk about this subject because you may not have talked about it previously. But just to show the fact that you're willing to discuss it with them, but you don't know it all.
We also should think of parents who do not speak and understand English, though.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to have translations or perhaps a translator available.
What I wonder, though, is even if there were translations made available, is this an acceptable subject?
That's a very good point. And with Canada being so multicultural, you do realize that people do come from so many different backgrounds and so many different cultures, and there are so many taboos attached to sex and to sexuality, to talking about these issues. In such cases, I think some part of the community or community organizations can help and get involved with trying to educate the youngsters as a group or individually or whatever.
Some parent educators believe that in an ideal situation, both parents should be involved in educating their children about sexuality. How do you feel about that?
I would think that fathers would probably have more difficulty talking to their daughters about topics such as menstruation than a mother would talking to a son about a wet dream. That's just a personal feeling. I have a daughter that's 3 at this point, and hopefully when she's 8 or 9, I'll be able to talk to her about it. But I would like to be a part of it. I don't want it to be something that is totally left to my wife. I think that we have to demystify it for the kids in some way, and by having both parents involved with both genders is probably one way to do that.
I have 2 boys, and you're obviously able to answer some questions better. How do you feel about answering some of the questions that our boys have brought to you, Gary?
I think if we approach them together, it gets me over problems when I may feel embarrassed talking about some things, or you may feel embarrassed. I think we can together approach it.
I think that's true, yes.
It's very important that not only both parents are involved with the discussion, but that if you have a boy and a girl, that they know what is happening with the opposite sex, that you're not just talking to your girl about menstruation, but that your little boy knows about it as well.
In our family, we grew up and father didn't, I think, knew menstruation existed. I mean, it just didn't, you know, he never, ever acknowledged the fact that mother was having a period or anything. And now, I mean, the whole family knows, and that's fine, and Greer knows, and the boys know, and I think that's good. I think that shows that we have come quite a ways in the way we deal with these things now.
I think that, you know, when there are two parents, it's, you know, it's a wonderful opportunity to have that kind of participation. But when you're a single parent, there's a different burden placed on you. You know, if you happen to be a single parent and you have a child of the same sex, that might make it easier. But I think there's a real challenge for single parents who have children of the opposite sex.
The films treat both genders very factually, and everything is very open and clear-cut.
Right.
And for a single parent, that would provide a really good opening point for discussion if the child was of the opposite sex, because everything is so clear-cut and factual.
And I think, too, that even though there's been a tendency in Western society to believe that the girls need more education in this area than the boys will find it out on their own, I think we're discovering that it's, well, and you have two boys, maybe you want to talk about that.
I know that I want to raise boys that are sensitive to women, and I want them certainly to understand that a woman's body is different from theirs, and that there's different changes, and they're going to go through changes too. So I think that those films, they look, like you say, factually at both male and female, and it's right there, and both people are going to, both sexes are going to go through changes, and they're going to be a part of those changes. And I want them to grow up respecting women.
It's so critical that kids get that message, that parents are the people that they should be going to for information about their own sexuality, rather than, as we did, looking at the books at school, or, you know, the dictionary, or whatever. And I think that's a really critical issue with the films, is that it really does help that parent-child communication, and just helps it just expand.
And when they hear something they don't understand, then they're going to come to you.
I don't want them to learn it by themselves. I want to be a part of it, and I think it's a privilege as a parent to be a part of that, that growth of my children.